Hey Exogeeks, this is Jack and I am back to help you generate a Lambda with OA Robot for the first time. Throughout the month of November, we will be doing Lambda workshops using Lambda robots, coming up with a few ideas and using OA Robot to generate Lambdas without actively knowing all the details for drawing up a Lambda. Let's go. We're going to look at the round of 32 case that has just been done in the morning session of the Microsoft Excel World Championship. This is a case by Harry Siders marked Sleep as a Sport. Yes, really. We're going to do what should be a fairly simple Lambda, and we're just going to do the difference between two times, bearing in mind that the one time is the day after the previous time. The first step when you're setting up a new Lambda in OA Robot is you want to mark your inputs as inputs so that robot recognizes what your inputs are and drives everything from there. So we're going to highlight the cells for the bedtime and the wake time, Control-Shift-O, and then we're going to mark as input cells. You'll see this changes the color of these cells. It's now yellow with blue font. That will now identify those as input cells. The next step is to work out the number of hours slept. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a full day to the wake time, because if you're waking up at 8 a.m. and going to bed at 10 p.m., that's 10 p.m. from the day before. So we're going to shift 8 a.m. onto the next day. So our first step is we're going to take that plus 1. 1 represents a day in terms of daytime. Timestamp, you can see that's still 8 a.m. It's just on a different day. Then we're going to take 8 a.m. from tomorrow and subtract 10 p.m. from today, and that gives us 10 hours. Now, we don't actually want that to be visible as a time. We want it to be visible as an integer number. So we're going to multiply the time that we have by 24 to get a total number of hours. And we're going to change the format of that one. So that's a general format. You can see it's coming through as a number. Now, this is the number I want to produce as a result of my Lambda. So there are two ways we can go about setting this up as a Lambda. We can either generate Lambda statement, Control-Shift-O, generate Lambda statement, or you can go save Lambda. And a generate Lambda statement will create a Lambda statement as a formula equals Lambda blah blah blah, and then the inputs at the back. A save Lambda will do exactly the same thing, but it will allow you to save it as a Lambda named range with its own name. So we're going to go, in this case, with save Lambda. As you can see, it's identified bedtime and wake time as our inputs. It's calculated step 1, step 2, and a result, and it now has an output. We can then hit rename if we want to rename bedtime or wake time parameters, and we can rename the individual steps if we want to, and then we just hit OK. Once we hit OK, we're given the save Lambda as prompt. This allows us to come up with an actual name. So what I want to know here is the hours slept. So I'm just going to call this hours slept. And I'm going to give it a command name, and I'm going to do calculate hours slept. And this one, we're just going to go calculates hours between a start sleep time on day 1 to finish sleep time on day 2. Now you'll see I'm writing quite a bit in here, and that is because as I go through this, I can start adding lots of different parameters. I can, have a link to my gist on GitHub. I can give myself a title as the author. We can have dependencies determine whether or not other Lambdas need to be in place, any custom properties. We've got this lovely view over here, And all of these things that we can incorporate end up being part of the metadata for this Lambda. That allows us to then summarize our documentation by just running a get help, and it will bring all of this information in. So I'm just going to hit save on this, and now you can see that this has a formula that says equals hours slept G4H4. I'm going to go equals hours slept G46 H46 close bracket. We've now generated an hours slept Lambda that uses two inputs, cell 1 and cell 2, to calculate the hours slept between the two. I'm going to copy this down to the rest of the answers using autofill down, hit enter. As you can see, we're now on a 40 score, and we have a Lambda we can use throughout the workbook with a start and end time to just get the hours slept. That's all for today. Congratulations on generating a Lambda in just a few easy steps. Come back for more Lambda Robot ideas, and we should be doing some Lambda workshops throughout November with some special guests as well. We'll see you there.